Hi, I'm Cory, and I'm the founder of the Recovery Revolution. If you love somebody who struggles with addiction, this is the video for you. Keep watching to find out why exactly AlAnon just doesn't seem to give you the results and the satisfaction that you're looking for, despite everyone recommending that you just gotta go to a meeting. Here's the thing about loving someone who struggles with addiction. We hear all the time that there's nothing we can do to help them. When you go to a meeting, they give you the 3 C's. You didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. They tell you that, but they miss the 4th C. This came from one of my followers, Jennifer. She says there are 3 C's, but there's a 4th one that no one ever talks about. And the 4th C of can't cause, can't cure, and can't control is what you can do. And you can contribute. You can contribute to their recovery outcomes or their addiction behaviors. Your engagement, your participation, the way that you interact with them actually makes a huge difference to how they feel about themselves, to how they feel about recovery, how they feel about you. The way that you show up in that relationship makes a massive difference. What this actually refers back to, or the way we can clarify this idea, is by thinking about systems theory. So the idea behind systems theory is that when one part of that system is altered, all the other pieces of that machine are inevitably affected by that change. What that tells us is that in these relationships, the way that we show up makes a big difference. The way that we show up to them is going to influence them. Now, can we fully predict the outcomes of all of our behaviors? Absolutely not. But can we look to research and see what's helping and what's hurting? Can we look to research and find out overall, across most scenarios, is there something that people are doing that's really, really helping? The good news is we actually can. There's a lot of research on this, actually. The research behind family support in recovery is pretty conclusive. Family support in the intervention process, in the recovery process, and in the pre-recovery motivational process that gets someone on the road to healing makes a huge difference. When we can show up psychoeducated, compassionate, non-judgmental, connecting with them in a real, present, and genuine way, that can make a big difference in their willingness to go get help. Think about it this way. If someone that you just don't like, someone you just absolutely hate, every time you're talking to this person, they do something kind of judgmental. They say something kind of snarky. They say something that just grates on you and doesn't make you feel good about yourself. Let's say that happens every single day for a month. And then one day, that person stops. They say, hey, I'm worried about you. Hey, are you okay? Hey, you know what you need? You should go to therapy. You know what you need? You need help. You're doing something wrong. Are we going to take that at all from someone that's been insulting us? From someone that's been criticizing us? From someone that's maybe been talking about us behind our backs? From someone that's been disrespecting our privacy, disrespecting our autonomy as human beings and thinking that they know better than us? Even if we're wrong, are we going to take it? We're not. No human being would. And that's why so many partners and loved ones of people who struggle with addiction get terrible results when they try to have the conversation around helping that person find recovery, helping that person start therapy, go to rehab, go to a group, anything. We get awful results. And there's a good reason for that. We haven't been setting ourselves up as people from whom advice is welcome. Just think about that. Next time you're in an interaction with your loved one who's struggling with addiction, I want you to ask yourself, am I behaving in a way that would make me want to take advice from me? Am I showing up in a way that would make me want to connect with me? Am I showing up in a way that makes other people feel comfortable, feel welcome? Or am I behaving in such a way that makes other people feel less than, judged, insignificant, not good enough, just shit about themselves? How am I showing up? How might they be feeling based on how I'm treating them? I know what you're saying. You're saying, hold on, a mother-loving second, Cory. He's a giant so why should I treat him well? Why should I do anything to him that he's not offering me? He's not being decent. He's doing all this stuff that's bad. He's drinking. He's hiding stuff. He's sneaking around. He's taking all of our money. He's lying about stuff. He's wreaking havoc in our household. He's saying awful things all the time. He's doing all these horrible things. So why should I be nice to him? Now, let me apologize for the gendered pronouns. What I should be saying is, why should I be nice to them? Why should I be nice to them when they're doing all all these things. Unfortunately, the reality is, and a majority of my clients are women in relationships with men who struggle with addiction. So when I'm talking about this, I'm actually speaking the words right out of my clients' mouths. This is what they're saying. Why should I be nice to him? Sometimes they're saying, why should I be nice to her? Sometimes they're saying, why should I be nice to them? But the message is the same. Why should I do something better? Why should I do something different? Why should I change when they have the problem? And the reason is in the research, because research has proven that when we change first, they have a much better chance of finding long-term recovery. Not just going to a group one time, not going to a rehab because you forced them into it, not going to court-ordered meetings that they don't want to be at, but of actually achieving long-term recovery. Their chances are better when we do the work first. There have been plenty of studies that show that long-term venting can actually be a detriment to your mental health. The short-term effects of venting, you get it off your chest. You finally feel like, oh, that weight is lifted off of you. You feel free. You feel better about your situation. You feel like there's hope. You feel like you belong somewhere. You start to feel connected to other people through that venting. As you spend more time doing that same thing over and over, hearing other people share the same stories over and over, two things start to happen. One, you start to think, if they're still telling these stories and they've been here year after year after year for my situation, and you think, maybe not. If they're still here and they haven't seen any positive results, they're just here coping, this isn't going to get better. I give up. Screw it. This is pointless. You start to feel hopeless. You start to feel even more down on the situation, pessimistic, resentful. It doesn't feel good. And the second thing that ends up happening when you repeat that same story over and over is you actually end up creating more anxiety in your own mind about that story. Now, you can say, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I'm pissed off. I don't like him anymore. I don't like her anymore. I don't like them anymore. Don't want to do it. You are totally allowed to say, I'm not going to do this work. But here's the thing. If you're engaging frequently with someone who struggles with addiction, you're in a one-to-one relationship with them all the time and you're at each other's throats. You are getting back and forth, having problems, having conflict, escalating that conflict, getting really upset. If that's happening and what you really want is for them to get sober, it behooves you to do what actually works and not to do what doesn't work. What we know doesn't work is judging, is yelling, is fighting, is trying to get your hands around it, trying to wrangle them to the ground and say, hey, you're trapped. Does everyone remember that scene, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where it's the intervention and they're like, you're trapped, we got you, you're trapped, you're trapped. That's what we're doing. That's what we do so often. We're like, hey, I'm gonna corner them and I'm gonna tell them what they need to do, and then they're gonna do it. How's that working out for you? Probably not very well. If you're still watching this video, you're probably watching it looking for some kind of answer that gives you a practical response that you can engage in to solve this problem. And here's the thing. I see this all the time. We don't always get that from therapy. We don't always get that from the support groups, especially the ones that tell you no advice. We don't always get those practical first steps from the very mental health professionals that we need to hear this advice from. Here's a sad statistic. The most effective way for partners and families to show up to support their loved ones toward recovery is referred to as the community reinforcement approach. Now, some therapists, some counselors, and some coaches are certified in the CRAFT recovery model, that is the community reinforcement and family therapy model. Some coaches, therapists, counselors know how to help you learn the skills of the community reinforcement approach so that you can take that to your partner, to your loved one. You can show up the right way. But unfortunately, there aren't very many. In the United States, there's a list. You can look it up online. I'll put the link down below so you can look it up. There's a list of a few certified CRAFT counselors and therapists. The list is very short. What I do with the Recovery Revolution is I take all of those skills and I just give them right back to you. All the things that we learn in all of the addiction books, like whether it's Get Them Sober, written by the guy that came up with the CRAFT method, whether it's Beyond Addiction, written inspired by the efficacy of the CRAFT method, in all of these books, it's all great advice. Hearing it is one thing, and learning the practical, tangible steps to apply it to your relationship is different. It's sometimes harder. You can hear all the principles and say, great, that sounds good. I want to do that, but I hate them still. And so that's where I come in. At the Recovery Revolution, we have a program called Heal for Real. This is designed as a new recovery response for people who love someone in addiction. It's a new approach to healing after loving somebody in addiction. We start with you and how you feel and make sure that you can connect to your experience, can start to feel better about how you're showing up, can start to feel better about the relationship in general, and most importantly, can find clarity in what you really want. Because one of the worst things that we can do if we love someone who struggles with addiction is lie to them. People do care and we're not showing up, that's not going to help. But sometimes when we've gone through this crazy scenario of having an active person in addiction in our home, we lose track of how we really feel. We start focusing on them. We forget what we need and what we want. If you want to do this work, if you want to learn more about this and go forward with some of this stuff, I'm going to keep the links for all these programs in the description on this video. I'm going to have more videos out. So if you want to subscribe, please click the button, subscribe. This is the Recovery Revolution. We're going to start responding to addiction differently.